It's time to hear the story, make the connection, learn the lesson, and gain the wisdom. Are you ready? Let's get charged and be changed. The Sister Speak Brother Break Show. Conversations on grace, healing, and deliverance. This is Marcey Bush. Come on, let's journey together. Hello, and thank you for joining us for the Sister Speak Brother Break Show. Today, and I think I always say this, but I always mean it, we have a very special guest with us. This is a young man that I've known for quite a while now. He is a brother to me. I love him, I believe in him, and I'm just so glad for where God has brought him from. And so it's a pleasure for me to be able to help him, give him a platform to be able to encourage someone else through what God has done in his life. So I am welcoming Lamont Gary. Thanks
Hello.
So much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you for having me, and
Yes.
thank God.
Yes, indeed. Well, Mont, I know I've known you probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 years or something like that, somewhere in there.
We're going to say even 20. Let's just round
You
it
think
up.
it's been?
Yeah.
Okay. And so the way I came to know you was through your sisters and brother.
Mm-hmm.
And so we know that God has brought you through addiction.
Yes, ma'am.
And will you just kind of let us in? I guess we want to kind of start with the addiction, and then we'll go back to maybe some of the well, let's start at the beginning. What kind of life do you think in the beginning as a young boy, what kind of got you on the path that ended up leading to addiction?
Really, it was a lot of fear, insecurity, low self-esteem, loneliness, confusion.
Okay.
And all of that wasn't brought on by any particular person. That was some internal stuff that I didn't even know then that I was dealing with. It was just stuff that would happen.
Okay.
Excuse me. Growing up, I'm the oldest of four.
Okay.
We do have a very close-knit family, not just our immediate family, but my mama's side and my daddy's side as a whole, as a whole family unit, we are a tight-knit group of people. And sometimes when you have that closeness, it's always one that feels less than, or they have to do extra to be noticed or recognized. And not saying that was totally the situation, but I was always little. I would get teased, but at the time, I know now today that it wasn't intentional, or it wasn't meant to be the catalyst for me wanting to do drugs later on in life. I have developed some forgiveness in the last 1,787 days for most people in my past. Because in order to move forward, I have to let go of certain things. And
Yes.
anger, I still deal with that. Hopeless, helpless, those feelings, I have to deal with those too. But it's people in my past that I would look up to and mimic and want to be like. And then the older I got, the more I saw where I didn't mean that much to them.
Okay.
I heard earlier today, they're not gonna love you like you love them. And today I'm okay with that, but back then I didn't understand that some things I'm gonna have to do by myself.
Right.
It's gonna be some days where I am disappointed. some days where I will be alone. But not having information or the people in my life who even had that experience themselves to show me the right way, it caused my life to be a certain way.
Okay.
And
Can I say this real quick?
yes, ma'am.
Even while you're talking, one of the things that I'm just reminded of is how we've been taught as well. Sometimes the people in our lives just don't have the capacity.
Right.
Because everybody is fighting their own battles.
Right.
And everybody's response to the battle is different.
Right.
And so sometimes, and I remember this came to me yesterday, even while just kind of preparing for the interview, and it just came up again, is how sometimes the things that happen to us were really were not about us when it happened. So the people that did whatever or didn't do whatever for you, sometimes it wasn't even meant towards you. You were just affected by it.
And you know what? When I look back and I think about a lot of the stuff where I try to pinpoint, like in my head, I got a large board. Okay, such did this, such did that. And when I honestly do my inventory and I look back, these people were doing stuff that they unconsciously knew. And I harbored those feelings. I harbored, you lied to me, or I harbored the feeling of, you mistreated me, not abused, but you laughed at me right along with everybody else, and you supposed to be my family. You see what I'm saying? But today it's like, it's not okay. But I learned from that experience, because it's how it affected me, how I want to be able to not be that person in my kids' life, or not be that same person in anybody else's life, because you never know what little jokey joke may do to a person's self-esteem and how they see themselves. And they could find themselves caught up, and you don't even know it. You could. So it's life changing, and for me today, it's different. But I have to stay on top of the fact that if I can't express how I feel, if I keep pushing stuff down, I keep acting as if, or I go over how I feel with a minimum of concern and not deal with the issue, I'm setting myself up for failure, to end up on the same road I just God just. It was a straight road, and God gave me a crossroad. Now, whether I went left or right, it didn't matter. Just so long as I got off of this road. And that's what happened.
Good. Before we go further, too, I want to take a minute to say, if you hear a little background noise, don't be distracted. I don't want you to be distracted. Mont had to bring his son here with us today, and I got no problem with that. We're doing real things. We are having conversations. He's 6. So this conversation means nothing to him. So just, if you hear something in the background, just keep listening. You either got children, or you got a spouse, or you got siblings or something, so you have heard noise before. Don't be distracted by it, and I don't want you to be. Don't allow the enemy to use something that don't matter and make it big.
And you know what?
It ain't big. God has you sitting in here today because somebody needs to be free.
Okay.
And so if the enemy can use a little click to take you off focus, that's what he gonna try to do, and we ain't doing that.
And see, I so much of my life that is exactly what I allowed to happen. I smoked crack and methamphetamine and marijuana and pills for so long. Started. I had my first drink, I do believe, right around the age of 10 or 11.
Okay.
And back then it was, quote unquote, a fun thing to do.
Okay.
Because like I say, my family is a close-knit family. Cookouts during the summer, birthday, Christmas parties, anything that brought them together. All right. Kids will be kids.
Right.
The oldest will sneak and grab a beer, and the ones under them would want to impress them, so we would drink it with them. Now, whether the alcohol changed how I felt, I don't know.
Right.
I just wanted to fit in.
Acceptance.
Right. But as I got older, me fitting in and being accepted became harder and harder to do. Like I said, I'm the runt.
Okay.
I'm the oldest of my four brothers. Of my mama's 4 kids, my dad's 4 kids. I'm the oldest, but I'm the smallest. My oldest sister weighs more than I do now. But I've always had to go that extra mile or do that extra thing. But
You always felt you had to.
I had to, right. For me, my disease thinking kicked in when I was around 10. My dad he worked a 9 to 5 at a mill, packing plant.
Okay.
Well, him being a college student, graduate, he knew that was not where he wanted to be. So he, in order to do better for his family, he decided to go back to school and start a career.
Okay.
Which he did. Well, while he was in school, my granddaddy brought us up.
Okay.
Stayed right next door. That's how we did back then. We wasn't soft kids. We were brought up to walk outside with no shoes on during the summertime.
Right.
When the sun come up, you gone all day long. When you come back, you musty and wet because you've been to either the creek or you've been ripping around and sweating all day. And when they said you smell outside, you smell exactly like outside.
Right.
But my granddaddy brought us up and he did a good job. My dad doing what he know to do best, which is be the provider. He got a job as the director of intervention on alcohol and drug abuse, which is what led us to Aiken, South Carolina. We're from Newberry. Me being 10 years old, the runt of the family, didn't want to move.
Okay.
Because that's what family is. They already know me. Over here, I don't have nobody.
Right.
And I'm scared.
Okay.
But I can't say that.
Okay.
I can say, Grandma let me stay with you, Auntie let me stay with you, and it seemed like at the time that they turned their back on me. It seemed like at the time that they didn't want me because they making me go. They know I'm kicking and screaming, and it seemed like at the time he didn't like me because see, it's all about me. So we moved. And I didn't want to be here. Go to a new school, me being little, get pushed around, people take my stuff.
Okay.
I don't like it, but ain't nothing I could do about it by myself.
Right.
Because I'm the oldest.
Okay.
And I'm alone. So,
I got
in
you,
order
bro.
to fit in,
I got you.
I gotta do something. Well, what do I want to? I don't want to be here. So I'm gonna try to get it, create a way that they'll send me away.
Okay.
What better to do what better way? Well, let me back up. Everybody's family has problems.
Yes.
My mom and dad, they went through their thing. And I didn't like my daddy already.
Okay.
At this time. And see, this is their, 10, 11, 12 years old. Back then, for people of color to have nice things in their home, like big color TVs with remote controls, cable in the house, air conditioning, VCRs and stuff of that nature, you would consider to be, of the upper epsilon.
Right.
Well, back then, I would always rent horror movies, and my brother would always rent karate flicks. And one day, and I was so just angry, and we was renting movies, and my dad was like, "Why do you always rent this crazy stuff out of the blue?" And I was so teed off with him inside, and I looked dead at him. I said, "Because I'm learning how to kill you." And I believe that was a turning point for him then, as well as for me, because now, okay, I done said it out loud. Now let me think about it, right? Long story short, I come to find out that he's a director of intervention on alcohol and drug abuse. And now he'll go. Now my manipulative mind is starting to develop.
Okay.
If I get on dope, it would make him look bad, and he can't look bad in front of his coworkers and colleagues. Because see, everybody that knew us thought my daddy was a lawyer. Made the mistake one day of riding the bus home, and he just happened to be going into the courtroom downtown with his briefcase. Little did they know, as and me, he's not a lawyer. This way he work at. But if that's what y'all think, we gonna go with that, because now it makes me look like something that I'm not. But if that's what you want, I'm gonna give you that. But I hatched this plan to get on dope so that he would be embarrassed enough to send me back to my grandparents' house. But it backfired. It didn't work. What happened was I started smoking marijuana, drinking alcohol, and in the 9th grade started snorting powder cocaine. And instead of it embarrassing him to where he would send me away and hide me, I started to like it. And not only did he not send me, he couldn't help me. Which was that saying, this disease don't care who or what or what your mama name them is, what business they got, or what they do as a profession. The disease of addiction is non-discriminatory. It does not care. And what happened was I started to like doing drugs, got caught up in the grips of addiction and didn't even know it.
So I was going to ask you, do you remember when it turned from just being a point of rebellion to you felt like you needed it, or felt like do you remember when that shift?
I don't remember the shift, but I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on it when I thought smoking crack was cool. I got in.
How old
I was 16 when I started smoking crack. I got introduced to crack through a girlfriend's mom's boyfriend, right? And that was manipulation also. He couldn't smoke. He couldn't drive. He didn't have a driver's license, and I did. At 16, I had my driver's license. He couldn't go to the crack dealer and the crack houses and, where we was buying crack at with his girlfriend because she asked questions. So when I would get with him, I would drive him.
Okay.
And he introduced me to it, and I liked it.
Okay.
Because at first, it was told that it was just another form of powder cocaine. Well, I've done that already. That ain't no big deal. Little did I know that crack cocaine would be my nemesis, basically, for life.
Okay.
And I tried 1,000 different ways to do it and be successful. None of it ever worked. And the only thing that was successful, well, I went, put it like this, when I knew I had a problem with it was when I started stealing my dad's money out of his account.
Out of his account?
Yeah, his bank account.
Not just out the
not just out.
Not at the
No,
room.
he didn't keep enough at the house, but he kept it in the bank. And like I said, I could drive, and sometimes he would send me to the bank teller with his card. The biggest mistake I think he knows that he ever made was letting me know what that PIN number was. And at 16, 17 years old, I would get my brother to help me push the car out of the yard, and he's routine. My mom and daddy was routine. He would come home from work, eat, read the newspaper, watch the news, go lay down in the bed and watch more TV. My mom come home from work, wash clothes, cook dinner, watch TV. Well, around 11 o'clock, my dad's up watching TV, laying in bed. My mom goes to bed at 11 o'clock, so they're both in there watching TV. 11:30, 12 o'clock, I know my dad's asleep because his back is turned. I know my mama's asleep because her glasses is on and her eyes is closed. My routine was, and he kept his wallet in the same place, in the same, all the time. I'd slide the card out, grab a handful of keys so they didn't jingle, get them out of the room first, make sure my mama's eyeglasses is off, cut the TV off. Me and my brother would push the car out. I'd go to the teller machine, $200-$300, go to the crack house, which I'm familiar with, smoke dope from 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, till 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning when I know they'd be back getting up to get ready to go to work. Mash the gas real hard, throw it in neutral, cut it. I mean, this is at 16. And when they found out, I believe how they found out, he went to go and get some money out of the bank, and it wasn't there. He accused her. And she accused him. And I think when they went and looked at the time, which I didn't think about that, they figured it was me. So I come home, and I had an ultimatum: either you go to rehab, or, excuse me, we're gonna lock your black up. I took the latter. My first rehab was at 17 years old. It was a resort. It didn't work. Because I went with an ulterior motive. I went to stay out of jail. And I went time and time and time.
So it wasn't to truly be over it. It was to avoid the other thing.
Avoid jail.
Yes.
And I went to rehab so that my significant other wouldn't put me out. And I went to rehab so that I could keep my job. And I went to rehab so that my family would leave me alone, get off my back. I went to rehab 1,000,001 times for all the wrong reasons.
Do you remember how many times you went to rehab?
I lost count because I would either be in rehab or be in a homeless shelter. See, my life.
So hang on before you. So, because help me remember now. So you said 10 or 11. You started with alcohol.
Right.
What was and then when did you start with marijuana? Was marijuana the next thing?
Next thing, yes. It's a step.
About how it was?
About 12, maybe 13.
When you started with marijuana?
Yeah, hanging out with friends here. Trying to fit in.
And then what was the next step after the marijuana?
Out of cocaine. And then.
Was that not a big leap? I mean, even the way it did your body, the way it did your mind.
No. Addicts, we progress
So you develop that
Tolerance.
Yes. Okay.
Right. And so you don't just jump in to do powder cocaine. You just don't jump in to do drugs. You sit back and you watch and you wait and you see how it do other people. And if it don't do little Johnny over here that bad, then it can't be that bad.
Okay.
Now, if Susie doing it and she flip out and run down the street butt naked, you probably don't want to do what she doing or do as much or the way she did it.
Okay.
So my graduation and my elevation into my disease and my drugs of choice, which is all of them. I've done all the drugs that I know of except shoot a needle.
Okay.
I've never shot a needle.
Okay.
But you name it, from alcohol to snorting heroin, dropping acid, pills, and powder cocaine, crack cocaine, like I said, which was my nemesis. And later on in life, it was crystal meth and ice. And that was my last little bit of my journey. And I thank God right now because they got this that fentanyl. And I believe if I'd have stayed out there long enough, I'd be dead. Because when I do it all. You know, they alcohol abuse. I believe abusing alcohol is buying a bottle, opening the top, and putting it back on and saving it for later. I've never been able to do that. It's I either do it all or I don't want to do none. But my problem was I can't not do none. I didn't know how. You know, my whole life was geared around getting dope, coming up with a plan to get dope, getting more dope, and having it all to myself. No matter who I had to hurt, who I had to lie to, who I had to cheat, who I had to steal from. It was what I did. And jail, you know, never been to prison, never did prison time, never, I threw rocks at the prison. I done enough to be going, but, oh, Yana, I'm going through this, and okay, well, we'll send you to rehab here. Okay. You know, outpatient here, 30 days, you know, all of that, and nothing ever. The end result was always I was still getting high.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us today. If you've been blessed by today's show, feel free to let us know. And if you'd like to sow into this ministry, become a sponsor, or contact us, you can reach us at 803-221-0169. Or you can email us at thessbbshow@gmail.com. Let's continue this journey together. Missed any of our past episodes? Catch up on past shows on my YouTube channel at Marcey Bush, MarceyBush. And be sure to subscribe so you won't miss any future episodes.